Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you guys are well. Not sure how many people are in. I'd like to apologize for last week. Unfortunately, I was traveling home to family and things, so it was a bit difficult to, it was difficult to run classes directly from there. Obviously, no equipment and things. So inshallah, we will continue as normal. Wa alaikum salam. I'll just give a couple of minutes to everyone, inshallah, and then we will get started. Most people will catch up anyway later on. From what I've seen, most people tend to be catching up later. Yeah, so who's here anyway? If you could just type in a comment just so I know who's here. How is everyone anyway? How's everything been? Give a couple of more minutes, inshallah, and then we'll get cracking. Anyway, I'll just let you know what we're going to go through today anyway. Inshallah, first, I was going to go through the names first and then go through a little extra part that I prepared. But I think that it's probably best if I go through the extra bit that I prepared first, and then go through then I'm going to go through the actual name. So we're going to go through something a little bit about anxiety first, inshallah. And then the reason I'm doing this is because it kind of links with the names that we're going to be going through this week and the few weeks that are going to come, inshallah. So that's our main intention behind it, really. So inshallah, first we'll go through an element of what anxiety is and just symptoms of it and things like that, just so you guys can get a taste of what it is, and just to being able to basically relate to it if it is not something you can relate to as such, because it can be something very mild that you're not even in understanding of it, that you've got it. So inshallah, we will go through that first, and then after that we will go through the names that I have prepared for today. Hopefully, with time permitting, we can go through all the names I have prepared, but as previous weeks, I haven't been able to go through all the names as I planned. So inshallah, we will try our best. Give one more minute and then we will get started, inshallah. Wa alaikum salam to everyone. Wa alaikum salam from Sister Hadi as well. Happy to see you guys here as well, inshallah. Let's start, inshallah, because I think we don't want to be taking too much time. We've got a lot to get through. We've given 5 minutes to everybody. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen, amma ba'du, fa'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was, anxiety. Generally as Muslims, generally as human beings, we should know that, there are many things that come in a form of test, and it's something that often kind of puts us off in life. It can kind of put us off in the things we've planned to do, in the things we want to do, in the place we want to be. So it often stops us from getting from one place to another. It stops us from progressing as human beings, generally as humans, but as spiritual humans as well. But as Muslims, we firmly believe that we do have tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no doubt in that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, do people think they will be left alone and they will not be trialed? So it's the whole purpose of our being on this earth is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first as well. But additionally, we will be tested, and then it is only through tests we gain a reward. And even if we look at it from just generally how society works, we have we have tests, we have exams to prepare for, and it's depending on them that we gain result, and it is dependent on them that we get such grades or search careers and things like that. Not always, but that's tend to be the normal, normal way most societies work. And similarly, when it comes to our religion, we are here to be tested, and they can be something small that we might not even recognize, and it could be something great as well. And then Allah, in another ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and certainly we shall test you with something of fear, hunger, loss of wealth, lives and fruits, but glad tidings are to the sabirin, the patient ones. And I won't go into this patience too much. We've gone through this several times, so inshallah, if you do want to reflect on that, you can visit the previous classes. So anxiety is not necessarily a thing that like you can not truly escape from, but it's part of us basically. It's a normal human feeling, let's per se, if you put it that way. So let's try to understand it from that point of view. And even from the life of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and if you look at the human side of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he experienced the great losses in his life. And when his son Ibrahim passed away, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt sadness, expressed his emotions through tears and grief. But the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded to this as well. He says, when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam wept and said, the eyes are shedding tears and the heart is grieved, and we will not say except what pleases our Lord. O Ibrahim, indeed we are grieved by your separation. And this was such normal human response to something, from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that everything we go through, there is a reward for it, as we mentioned before. It is remembered that as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not left us, but rather He wants us to get closer to Him. And we've talked about this nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is our purpose. That is our purpose of being created, is to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain a nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is only through this that we can truly escape the adversity of life, because that is our normal disposition. So when we're trying to run away from it, then certainly things like anxiety, certainly things that are not so good for the soul, not so good for our body to handle, take place. And because we're moving away from our natural disposition as human beings, and which is to seek God. It's not even just for Muslim, it is a normal human disposition for any human to just seek God. And generally anxiety itself, like it's something that we don't often recognize that it's happening to us, and then and sometimes it crawls up on us in ways that we don't even expect. It crawls up at times we don't expect, and sometimes that can be quite dangerous, because often it might come at a time where you need to be prepared for something, or a time where you're supposed to be doing something important. Maybe you've left your assignment to last minute, and then you have anxiety, and then that kind of takes you off basically. And then now you're trying to get your assignment done, but then you've also got anxiety and stuff. So it's about dealing with these things. These are the kind of things we're going to be talking about. And generally, if you look at anxiety, the way it's described is an unpleasant feeling that we all, it's described as the unpleasant feeling that we all experience, such as being uptight, nervous, tense, or irritable. It may affect us. It may affect how we think and behave. As excessive worry may prevent us from doing things that we do not want to do. Anxiety causes us to feel worried for a long period of time, even if the worry doesn't have the basis. So it's almost like, I'm sure you've all faced it at a time where, I don't know if you remember when you were children, and you might be getting like your mom, I don't know, like some people have good relationship with their mother or their father, or I don't know, someone in their family, but then there's that one person, they know when they're getting the call from them that they're only getting that call for a certain reason. They're only getting that call because as soon as you see that phone ring and you think, why are they calling, or there must be a reason, and then that gives you the anxiety, because you think you've done something wrong, because maybe from childhood you used to get shouted at by them or things like that. And sometimes these kind of things often even carry with you even when you're an adult, that when a certain person rings, you just have that worry, even though you know that your relationship with that person's changed, but you still have that fear because of just how. And it's important to recognize these things, because often it stops you from having a better relationship with people, that where things are maybe not necessarily the same anymore. So it's just, little things like that. And then you have severe anxiety as well, where you're in total loss of control, and you're totally losing it because something is just not working out for you, or something is, you wanted certain thing to go a certain way, or you're in own control. And the reality is anxiety is the fear of the future. It's fear of what's to come, and it's the unknown that gives us the anxiety, because we don't know which way it's going to go. We don't know how it's going to make us feel. So sometimes you can even have anxiety about the fact that you're going to have anxiety as well. So it's all about dealing with the root cause, and you always have to go back. And often, as human beings, we don't deal with things directly. We try to curve the ball. We try to think things are okay. We try to think it's fine, like, there's no need, I don't need to do anything about it. In reality, we do need to do it. Even if it's the smallest things, we should focus on them. Why? Because they build up, and then when they do attack fully, then it gets very, very uncontrollable, and we don't want to be in that kind of a position. So try to understand the cause of whatever we do. And it's something normal. It can often happen with things like when you got, your driving license, you got exams, interviews, and then more severe things, just generally our life issues, our relationship with our parents, our families, our partners, who people that you're married to, and generally your children as well. All these things can lead to cause anxiety, because you expect certain things in a certain way, and when things don't go well, and it's not, it's not as easy. And often, our brain would just try to basically, when we do have anxiety and stuff, it's trying to fight it. Now, the problem is that it doesn't know how to fight it. It's trying to get you back to normal. And the fact that you don't even know you need to go back to, the fact that you don't know what normality is anymore in that time, it makes it even more difficult. So it's like now you got a battle between, you're trying to go back to your normal self, and then you got a battle between the battle of that anxiety itself. And now you've got this clash, and then you don't know basically how you basically dealing with it. One of the main, reasons, one of the reasons why the anxiety tends to take place is unhelpful thoughts. So often these unhelpful thoughts are due to several things. For example, we often try to predict the future. We often try to think, oh, it's going to go this way, or it's going to go that way, or I want it to go this way, or I want it to go. It's good to have, obviously, hope in things, that things work out and stuff, but it has to be followed up by something. Often we'll plan that I want this, but then the execution is not right. The planning towards it is not right. We haven't done the relevant training to do certain things. For example, if you're public speaking and stuff, and you just throw, like I was trying to do the first time, I had anxiety as well, because it wasn't something I was new to. And it's okay to have that anxiety. Why? Because you know that it's something you can overcome, because that kind of anxiety goes away with practice and goes away with time. So know that those kind of things will. But predicting the future, generally, what this means is, for example, I don't know, let's say you want to get a certain job, and the fact that you want to get that job, it's not even the fact that you're struggling with the interview that's going to give you anxiety. The fact that you want it so bad is also giving you anxiety. Why? Because you know that if you don't get it, you don't want that feeling, or you don't want that feeling where it's not going to go so well. You don't want that. You don't want to feel like that. So that gives anxiety. Oh no, I'm going to have to go through that thing of going through this process again, of applying for something new, and then that whole thing. It's like almost like a heartbreak in a sense, isn't it? When you want something and you're not going to get it, and you're going through that. And then another one is, for example, often as humans we assume things. So assume that another person is thinking certain things about us. In reality, they're not. 90% of the time, they're not. People will say, trust your gut, trust your gut, No, it's not the case, because this is a bad, it's not a good. We should, as Muslims, especially as Muslims, we shouldn't have bad opinions of people. We shouldn't have evil thoughts about another person, that they're thinking a certain thing. And even if they are, let them, let's say in an example, even if that it's within them, like, let's try to not let it bother us. But 90% of the time, I guarantee you, nobody's thinking anything of. We just think that because we have patterns in our life, but someone might have done something in the past, and you think another person's facial reaction, or the way they're walking, or the way they're talking, is doing the same. They're thinking the same. But in reality, the face you're seeing is a face that everybody else in the room is seeing as well. And you have to realize this, because you're just seeing that because you're more vigilant, let's say. And because of that, you think that person's doing that just because of you. But in reality, let's say you got 10 people in a room, they're exactly, they're all seeing that same face. Are they all thinking the same? Probably not. So try to think like that as well. Okay, let's say you're one-on-one with the person. They might have been stressed out before they even go into that room or in that place where you're seeing them or whatever. They might have something so deeper in mind. They're just so lost in thought that they can't control their facial impression. And you think it's about you. You think it's you. So there's that thing of, oh, it's about me, like, or they must have something. No, they don't. They might just have something going on themselves, and often these things can lead to, these things can cause more harm than good. Because when you assume something is bad, and when you assume that that's what they think, then even when they say the slightest of thing that indicates towards that, you think it's the whole thing. You think they fully think like that about you, but it's not necessarily the case. So try to think this, that, the face I'm seeing, what they're saying, they're also, everybody else in the room is also seeing this, and I'm not the only one here. And just try to think that they might have something on their mind. So this often causes anxiety between people. And exaggerating or blowing a situation out of proportion. So often we'll think something is worse than it is. Something that's happening to us is worse than it is. You think that, I don't know, let's say, for example, someone was supposed to marry with somebody, and then let's say, what kind of example? Let's say it doesn't work out. They think it's the end of the world. They think that's it. They can't live without them. And as human beings, we exaggerate in that moment because you made it this far. You had a life before that person as well. You lived. You got to that age, and it didn't affect you then. You weren't thinking what the hell's going on then. Why all of a sudden person come into your life, and now that you're unable to marry them, or you're with a fiance, or you're supposed engaged or whatever, and things didn't work so well out, and now you think, or even if you were married and things just didn't work out and stuff, and we think it's the end of the world. But in reality, it's not the end of the world. In reality, you're not going to die. In reality, it's no one has Majnoon Layla kind of love where that separation is going to kill them. We can quote it as much as we want, but in reality, we don't. It's just a lie that you can tell yourself as human, that we have that kind of intense love that they had for each other, or just generally, if we just don't, as human beings, we just don't have that kind of intense love. It's all a made up thing. It's often, like, for example, put it into perspective for example, if, let's say something didn't work so well now, marriage, and if a perfect person walked into one of their life, they'll run, they'll go, they'll happily take it, and they'll forget the old person in no time. Why? Because it's not the person, it's that feeling that person gives them. That's all they're going to miss. So then, as human beings, try not to, when we go through loss of anything, let's try not to throw it out of proportion. Know that the effect of it is not as bad as you think. That you are going to be okay. You're going to get through. Your time, it will heal, and you just need to become yourself again. And that's simple as it's a simple. It's a simple solution in that sense. Obviously, it takes time. What I mean when I say simple solution means the result of it is what it is simple. I'm not saying the path to it is simple. It can take time often, which isn't obviously, which isn't always easy sometimes. So I'm just trying not to belittle someone's feelings. And the other thing is trying to pressure yourself to a social standard. So if you're trying to fit in, that also gives you anxiety because that's not you. So you're trying to be somebody you're not. So when you're trying to be someone you're not, it will give you it will give you anxiety, and it will, because you're trying to move away from your normal self. And often people that have, for example, social anxiety and stuff, they're trying to fit into people. It will cause them grave anxiety because they're just not used to people or a certain kind of people. And you're trying to be someone you're not, or you're trying to fit into a place you don't belong, or things like that. And then that also gives you anxiety. Often people will try something really new out and then have the best day, but then the next day they'll have a really low day, and they'll wonder why, because you put yourself, which isn't a bad thing, but what I mean is that you went through something your body's not used to. So now your mind's trying to adjust to it. That what is this new thing? What is this new feeling? Where is this person? Like your brain's thinking, where is this person taking me, in a sense? It's important to understand that. It's important to understand this here as well. And then the one thing is using outcome of one situation and generalizing to all of the situations. So when something certain taking place in one place, it's not necessarily mean that it's going to happen the same way every single time in a different place as well. know that it's not like that. It doesn't work like that, you know. You have to, every situation is unique. So don't always judge a situation. Oh, I've seen this before. You know, we say, I've seen this happening before. I've seen it happen before. I know what it's like. You know, that kind of thing. It's important to know that, it's not always the same. It's always different. And that's something. And then the last thing that I wanted to go through is labeling yourself. So don't label yourself something you're not. Don't label yourself something you're not, in the sense that, for example, don't say you're something above your own self, because then that gives you anxiety. Why? Because then you have to live a certain standard. It's better to lower yourself than to higher yourself. It's good to higher yourself in the sense that you get praises and stuff, but why do we want praise anyway? We just not, I don't know, it's just not something we should seek for as Muslims and stuff. But don't think, try not to think you're something above yourself. So, know yourself in the sense that what you're capable of, what you're worth as well. And when I say worth, that doesn't mean lower yourself in worth where, you be cruel to yourself. But what I mean is, just don't exaggerate yourself, and that's simply put, just because that also gives you a form of anxiety as well. And just generally question yourself, questions like, does my thought have any basis? Or, what kind of category does my unhelpful thoughts fall in? Like, am I thinking evil of somebody? Is that a good thing to have in my heart? And generally, generally, if I had told that person as well, what would they say? Like, think it that way. Like, would they say, oh yes, I am? It'll often upset people because they think, I never thought of you. I never thought about you like that. And, you made that assumption. So just try to do that. And the way we can overcome this is generally just, become people that problem solve. So in the sense that when you have anxiety, find the root cause and try to eliminate that. Often we'll get anxiety with, so often you want something in your life and you get so much anxiety through, and you think that the only way you're going to overcome it is by getting it. Often you need to remove that thing. Often you need to eliminate that thing or restrict that thing. And that is one way you can, defeat the point. And you have to go head on. If you saw something some person's not doing, something some person's doing and you're not liking, that's going, you need to be head on and speak to that person and say, this is what it is. This is this is how it's affecting me. So one of the ways we can start now, it's to get over this is, make a list of your problems and list them in order of priority as well. So list everything that you feel like is causing you severe anxiety, list the things that affect you the most, and then make your way down the order. Identify the problem, as I mentioned. What is the exact problem? What is exactly causing it? And then look at solutions for the problem. Is it that you need to get help from somebody? Is it that you can speak to somebody? Is it that you can do something so you don't feel that way? Make a list of things that are possible solutions for you. Search up psychologists that have gone through certain things and search. Say, okay, I'm going through this. And see if there's examples of life situations that they've done in their research or they talk about that you can relate to. The one way as humans we develop is by relating to things, basically. And obviously, you find those solutions, then try to prioritize the best of solutions. Then see if there's any solutions within Islam as well, and see if you can relate to them that way as well, because that can often help a lot as well. And learn how to reduce the time you worry. Now, often because we're worried, we don't do anything else, and then now because we're worried about the fact that, first of all, you're worried about the fact that you're worrying, and then you're worried that you're not doing anything, and then that just adds on, and then it's important that in these times and stuff, is that you try to take yourself out of that place where it's causing you anxiety, and you maybe do something else. Maybe you do something that, it might be something light work, even if it's 5-10 minutes of something you should be getting on, just to create that dopamine in your head, in your mind, and just to try to separate yourself from a place. Often these things can't happen. It's trial and tested, and you just got to move away from that place, basically. Eat well. If you don't eat well, it's going to always cause problems. Too much sweets, too much of anything can cause issues with the way your mind works and the way your mind functions. You are what you eat, as they say. Exercise, so go for walks, go for runs, even if it's something simple, do it. It's important. It's part of your well-being, and it's it's something important. You should always do it. Learn to relax. So when I say learn to relax, it means do something that is away from your work, your comfort zone, everything, because you need to be doing something that takes you away from everything that you do, because everything that you do, this is something you got something really big on your mind. So that means that every single place that you're part of, work, home, everywhere, you've had symptoms of that in that place. As in, you've gone through anxiety at work, you've gone through, because of that one thing, you've gone through anxiety in different places. Now, every time you go back to that place, you recall that anxiety. So even if you don't have that problem anymore, but the feeling, your mind recalls it. So the way you to eliminate that is by totally separating from those situations, that place, and coming and trying to reset yourself in a way, and then trying to come back to these places. And often when you do that, it lightens, and over time it basically goes away. And do something you like. Don't just do anything. Do something you like. Do something you enjoy. Everybody has a hobby. You just got to learn to find one. Do it. It's nothing bad. There's no harm in going out, taking pictures of, like, I don't know, flowers, or, photography is my hobby. I go out, take my camera, and, just that kind of thing. Just learn to do things that are out of your normal design. You always put this pressure on yourself. I need to be working. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. No, you need to separate. And then, obviously general things like alcohol, drugs, and any kind of substances like that, they're no good for these things. They will only make it severe. They're only temporary escapes, and they're no good. And talk to your family. Get help. Talk to your family. Talk to somebody who's older than you, who might have better experience. Talk to someone, anybody really. Talk to your friends. Talk to someone and explain that, look, this is what I'm going through, and I don't know what to do. And they might not necessarily be able to help you directly, but they might be able to point you out to somebody who can. And often that can be a good thing as well. So, just try to place that. Try to get help. It's important. You're responsible for yourself. Had your son, your daughter, your family, your sister, your sister, your brother, your father, mother was going through the same thing, you'd want solutions for them, right? You'd want them to get over it, right? You'd do anything to get them out of it, right? So then why won't we do that for ourselves? Why don't we do that for ourselves? Why is it that when it comes to ourselves, we neglect that, and then we're not willing to go the distance? Often it's because we don't want to move on from something. You need to move on. You're a human being. You need to live. You need to do things, and you need to be able to, just basically be able to function like that. So it's important. So know your root causes of everything, and generally it's like, I went through this. I'm just gonna get my notes up on my phone, because I went, and we were just talking about this on Friday. Our zikr event, and it was based on this class actually. It's based on a lot of the answers you guys gave, and one of the issues that I really realized that everybody had was, identity issues and purpose issues. So it's like, what's my purpose here? Why am I here? Identity, and then you've got your purposes. Like, and I just think, subhanallah, like, and then I thought about it and I reflect on that, and I just thought, okay, how do we really, tackle this head on? So so the way I thought identity crisis was, so the way obviously we thought about identity crisis was is that as Muslims, I don't know, it's like we have a default identity anyway, and our default identity is to follow the message, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even when we aren't ourselves, or even when we don't have anything that we think that we want to be like, or or things like that, or we have someone you want to be, that we know that we've got a great model example, we've got the best example. So when we haven't got, the process should always be an example anyway. But what I mean is, when you feel all lost and you don't know where you're going, then look at the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look at his example, and try to focus on that, because in reality that is the greatest. That is the greatest reality, and that is the greatest role model, someone to follow. So look at his life when you're struggling to be yourself, you're struggling to have an identity. So then that is your identity. In reality, that is the greatest identity. And then when it comes to purpose, subhanallah, like, our purpose is Allah. Like, when every other purpose is below that, every other purpose. So when you have purpose, know that you do have a purpose. And when you don't have an identity, know that you do have an identity, that you're a Muslim, that you are part of the Messenger. So there is always, these are two gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's default to Muslims, that you have these two things, and there's no doubt in them. And try to reflect on that, because it's not something small. And know that we, without the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you won't be we won't be able to attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and vice versa. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this part of the session. If anybody has any questions and stuff, you can always let me know regarding this. And then let's move on, inshallah, to the names that I have prepared for today. So let's see how many we can get through. We've got half an hour, so I will try to get through this as much as I can, inshallah. So the first name that we wanted to go through is Al-Muhaymin. And one of the meanings is the grantor of security, and inshallah we'll go through more meanings a little bit later. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He is Allah, and there is no God except Him. The King, the Most High, the Most Holy, the All-Perfect, the Source of Sincerity, the Watcher of all, the Almighty, the Supreme in might, the Majestic, glorified is Allah, far above what they associate with Him in worship. And then similarly in another translation, which suits our purpose a little bit more, it says He is Allah. There is no God other than Him, the Controller, the Holy One, the Source of peace, and the Grantor of security. And as generally as human beings, there might be multiple things that we fear, and we just talked about anxiety as well, and that's the reason why I went to the anxiety first and then this now. And when we go through these fears, we fear the smallest of things. For example, insects, to something really big, that might cause harm to others. No undoing, and when we're worried about all these different harms that coming to us, know that this is the name we should reflect on. Anything, the harm from within ourselves, harm from others, even the devil, any kind of harm that you see as harm in your life, this is the name that you should reflect on. So know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all knowing, and that the true security is from Him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala secures His true servants. If we look at Pharaoh's wife, if we look at Musa alayhi salam's time, and the way he was granted security, if we recall, for those of you who have heard the story of Pharaoh, and at the time of Musa alayhi salam, he knew that there will be a prophet and there will be somebody who will come and that in a way will destroy him. So then he ordered all the babies that were to be born to be killed. But look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted Musa alayhi salam security, because Pharaoh's wife said to him, the baby is a source of joy for me and you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may be useful to us, or we may adopt him as a son. They were unaware of what was to come. Look at the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there. Also if we go into the mother of Musa alayhi salam, we know from the Quran, it says, indeed, when the mother of Musa alayhi salam felt emptiness and fear after placing him in the river, God tells us that He strengthened it. He strengthened her heart, and to make her one of those who believe. So when we're looking for security, it's not always outward security. So when we're seeking this name, it's not always seeking about the security of it's also to accept the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is also to accept that what's going on in our life, to accept that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and only security will only come, protection will only come from Allah, and it is only Allah who grants that. And when it doesn't come, to know that there may be that Allah has a plan for us, and He will eventually grant us security. And we pray that when we call out to this name, that we get that. And just know that it's a spiritual one as well. So we must we must reflect we must ask for security in our deen, iman, everything, our closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because even they need protection. Because a human being, we can really sway very quickly away from these things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also granted us, the greatest security is our religion, and obviously through the Quran, because in reality Quran is a source of protection for us. It's a form of security for us, because it tells us how to live, what not to do, what to do. So that is the security in itself. So that is of default form of protection that is already set out for us. And generally, when we just looking at the meanings for this name, Al-Muhaymin, if you look at the root word, it points to several things basically. It points to, it points to the word secure, safe, free from fear, and and then to feel tranquil as well, and then someone who grants protection, safeguard, to be trustworthy, and and so there's several meanings of just that come from the root word, all go back to this name. And if you reflect on these, they all are a form of security, are all a form of, you can only feel secure with somebody if you trust them. As human beings, we can only feel secure around people we trust. So also you only feel safe with the people you trust, and you only feel secure with people you trust. So so when we just look at it that way, when we look at the root meanings, then you got that, and you got just few of the things like to want to someone who has this trait is it's to be when you're someone who have these traits, you're someone who is to be trusted, to be trustworthy, someone who grants protection, someone who safeguards you, and just things like that. And just if you've got the more meanings, moving away from literal meanings, root word meanings, then you've got things like he's the bestower of faith and security. So going back to somebody who gives you faith, and and when you have faith, then that's a form of security, right? Someone who's and then the one who affirms and believes in his own, or the one who affirms and believes in his own oneness. So even through that you gain security, because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is affirming his oneness, then you have a God that you worship. You have a God that you can look that you can worship, that you can ask for security from his oneness as well, that you're only dependent on him, and even through that you gain security. And when we look at this name, it's something that should strengthen our hearts. When Imam al-Ghazali explains that the biggest fear is the internal diminution, and nothing can protect us from that but the professions of faith and the unity of Allah. That is where true security and safety lie. If you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, truly believe that he is the source of security. So know that every form of anxiety, every kind of fear you have and everything, you will not escape truly. You might escape in your own eyes, but you won't escape truly unless you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You won't truly escape if you know that it is through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you gain this. Because if you have the claim that I got myself out of this situation, I got myself here, I worked hard, I did this, I did that, then know that you will never gain full security. You will never gain full peace, because you have claimed something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has claimed over. You are trying to claim something over yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has claimed over. So when we do get over things, alhamdulillah, we worked hard, alhamdulillah, we made the effort, but it's the praise is only for Allah. The praise only goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we cultivate, when we focus on this name, one second, sorry. And just know that, and just know that, not, our lack of trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our lack of, the ability to understand the security Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides us, know that it doesn't affect the security we receive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I mean by this is that, at the end of it, no matter where our heart is and no our mind is, as much as we're struggling to comprehend it, know that we know that we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will gain this, and it is only through this that we will gain the security from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just generally going back to the wife of Fir'aun, the wife of Fir'aun, Asya, Aisha, was one person who was granted this security. Her husband was a tyrant, and eventually she would be the subject of his tyranny. But in her heart, she did not falter. She was secure, unwavering. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, she was someone who didn't swear. You could be somebody who's part of a kingdom where such tyrant rules, but imagine being in the same house and still having the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has got you. And Allah presents as an example, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and Allah presents as an example of those who believe. The wife of Pharaoh, when she said, my Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise and save me from Pharaoh and his deeds and save me from the wrongdoings of people. So save me from the same and save from Pharaoh and his deeds. So save me. Obviously, in a way, you can see he's like, she's his wife, so she's saying, protect me, that don't let his sins affect me, don't let his deeds affect me. Also, the wrongs he's doing, don't let it overtake me. Grant me security that I don't fall into that trap. Grant me security that I don't go in his way, in a sense, the Pharaoh of the Pharaoh. It's that protection. And just protect me from those wrong people who are doing wrong. So don't make me, don't make me of those who are doing wrong. Protect me from that as well. And from this, you can take quite a bit, because it's that seeking protection, even in a place where everything around you is going a certain way that is not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you can protect yourself. You can seek protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we reflect on this name, you just remember the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I am as my servant, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's this that I am as my servant thinks of me, so think of me as you will. So it's that thing of, if you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the grantor of peace, grantor of security, then you will gain security. So try to reflect on that point, inshallah. And the way we live with this name and the way we bring this in our life is, first things first, giving others security. So give everything around us a security. Give everything around us. Make that, for example, if we're responsible for people, make sure that the place they're living, they feel safe, they feel secure. When they feel secure, you will feel secure, because that security that you're providing them has come from Allah. So if you're helping somebody, becoming the means for somebody else's security, then there's no doubt that Allah will become that you will gain security from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam Al-Ghazali said, a man share in the name and attributes lie in all creatures being safe from him. So everything needs to feel safe from you. If people are upset by you, intimidated by you, they feel threatened by you and stuff, know that then security won't come to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know that it will only distance you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what security means. This security refers to everything. Lack of, it will cause iman to drop and everything. So you have to realize this. You have to reflect on this. And just know that anybody that we feel that sometimes there's nothing wrong with apologizing to people, even when we might not necessarily done something wrong. There's nothing wrong. If that makes a person feel a lot safer around you, bingo. It's you won. You achieved something, and know that there's nothing wrong with that. And then Imam Ghazali goes on to say, those men will be most worthy of this name, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared that by Allah he does not believe, by Allah he does not believe, by Allah he does not believe, by Allah he does not believe. The companions asked, who, O Messenger of Allah? And the Prophet said, he whose neighbor is not safe from his misdeeds. Like it's an example here that if you you can put this in every situation, but he is restricted to a neighbor, that if your neighbor doesn't feel safe from you, that he does not believe, by Allah you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if your neighbors, people around you, remember your neighbor is not just your next door, he extends to 40 houses on that side, or 40 houses on this side, and generally your whole community, they're all your neighbors. Generally everything, even at work, the person next to you that's sitting there, he's your neighbor. In a classroom, person that's next to you, they're your neighbor. Everywhere you go, every place where doing things, in a way everyone's your neighbor. In a way everybody that, and they have to feel protected from you. And reality is, if they don't feel protected from you, they know that you look at the hadith of the Messenger, he does not believe by Allah, he does not believe. So make sure that everybody feels safe from you, and anybody that you feel doesn't feel safe, you reassure them somehow. That might be complimenting them, saying something nice to them. That'll just calm their heart down. That will just settle their nerves around you. It's not a nice thing to where people fear you, and it's not a good thing to either. People will say it's good that people fear you, and like as a parent, for example, when your kids fear you, it's to a limit. That's good. But if they totally fear you, where they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to know you, it just doesn't make sense. Who are they going to turn to when they need help? Who are they going to turn to when they're about to do something wrong and they don't know if it's right or not? Who are they going to turn to when they do make a mistake and they need advice? Not you, because they fear you, so they're going to go talk to somebody else, and that person might say, "Be yourself, do what you need to do. It's all right. You're young, this, that," and then that leads them to places that they shouldn't be leading them to. And let another way so that we can cultivate this in our life is let your actions affirm the truth of your speech. So do as you say, because that is, in a way, it's like that is what creates trust. That is what creates a form of security in the people around us. So it's be people of the truth. Everything we do, let's honor it. Let's do it to the best of our abilities, and that grants security in your heart about that thing you're doing, and also grants security in the other person's heart. This might even be our jobs, just generally everything else. And guide, as well, once again, I brought guide others to safety. Now, for example, if you know that somebody's crossing the road and they're struggling, all little things like that, get them, help them cross the road, help them do things. If you know somebody in your neighborhood often brings back groceries and stuff, and that they're struggling, help them. That's a form of security, because it might hurt them, or it might just generally, it's just they're struggling with it. So it's little things like that that can go a long way. I think that's pretty much for that name. So inshallah, do reflect on that name, write things down, where you even if you feel that you've done things to hurt people, or that might not necessarily make people feel secure, then focus on that as well. Let's see if I've missed anything out. Yeah, that's pretty much sorted, alhamdulillah. Now the next name, we'll go through one more, inshallah. I think we've got enough time to go through one more. So the next name is Al-Muhaymin. Now, if you translate this if one of the ways, one of the meanings is that, that we found is the protective wing, and inshallah we'll go through a bit more in a little bit. But just to give a bit of an example in life, and just generally, just some of the words and stuff. So if you look at the root word, not the root word. So if you just look at the example of bird, it's bird. It has, the way it protects its chicks, it's by laying its wings over it, or creating something that protects it. It's something. It's to extend something, over the place, and to form of protection. Or for example, if you look at any form of if like for example, you've got soldiers or an army, they protect a place. They have control over it and watches over it, and just protects it basically, and will put itself before it, that kind of a thing, looks out for it. So it's this kind of a, when we look at the protective wing, it's that, it's that kind of meaning that you're trying to reflect on. Is that to have a protection over something, to look over something, and this is the kind of protection that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. It's the kind of comfort that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. Just like, just like, like small birds, chicks feel protected and peace, because knowing that, knowing that their mother is with them, and knowing that they've got protection over them. Not that we're trying to link the two, but it's just like an example that you're just trying to give that. That's like the human level of, creatures level of understanding of protection, in a sense. And generally, when we look at this name, it's to oversee. When somebody holds a trait of this name, it's that they oversee what is under their control, and they guard it, they protect it. We talked about sustenance and all these things that, when we looked at Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and all these different names, it kind of falls under this name. It connects with this name. So when we are when we are worried, our work, when we're in trouble, and our home, and just generally with everything that you do, and you just have this nerve, that this is the name you'll reflect on. This is the name you'll call out on when we're struggling with little things in life. When we're looking for that protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very similar to the last name. So you can call out to both names at once as well, and call out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through these two beautiful names, for this kind of protection, for this this security that we've just gone through. And generally when when you're at work or something, and when something's not working out, and you're only at peace when somebody will tell you you're doing okay. For example, you got anxiety at work, that am I doing well enough at my job, or at home, am I doing well as a son, or it's generally. And then when that person that is causing that, they tell you that you're all right, then you feel protected all of a sudden. Then you feel like you're doing all right. Then you think that you're doing well. Now, similarly here, it's like, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting you. Know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking out for you. He's guarding you. Even when we struggle to see it, even when we can't contemplate on as human beings, that this is where you look for security. This is where you ask for security from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you're able to contemplate on it, and you're able to reflect on it. But these are the these are the kind of times where when you are going through something, just to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting you, and this is the name that you reflect on. And when you look at the meaning, it's just general different meanings of God. We always say that there's no literal meaning. We don't look how we're trying to. There's no literal translation, as I say. We look for the meaning. So we look at several meanings, so we can reflect on the name. A lot broader than just exactly one word or two words, let's per se. So Al-Muhaymin is the one who ensures well-being and protection over his creation. He is ever watchful and offers peace and security. He is the trustworthy one who proclaims the truth. That is self-explanatory pretty much. Other meanings: overseeing guardian. He's the one who in total control, who protects. The protector, overseer, the guardian, the bestower of security. And there's many other meanings. And if you just look at the Arabic connotations of it, it's to watch over, to oversee, to protect, to guard, to be a witness to offer security and peace, and generally to determine what is true, basically. These are just the root words. And generally the one who is in charge, or the one who is responsible for taking care of something. So you can just look at these names, you can kind of just reflect on them, and when you're looking at, it's just to be protected over, generally in the simplest term. I've gone through this. So you should connect with this name by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for faith. That will make you vigilant of him, and and put within you shame that prevents you from going against his command. So one of the protections you can seek from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the protection of being vigilant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning that you are aware of Allah. And that just the fact that you're aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a protection in itself. Why? Because then you know that you shouldn't be doing something. When you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you, and even this element of being, this element needs to be protected as well. Why? Because you can lose that. So it's not just gaining security in everything else, but it's gaining security in also having security, feeling security in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, feeling protection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's important to understand that. And it is said in it is just said somewhere that if you believe that this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you believe that I do not see you, then the fault lies in your faith. And if you know if you know that I see you, then why have you made me the most significant of those who observe you? So if you believe that I do not see you, then the fault lies in it's going back to the whole thing, is that know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching over you. Always know that. And if you're unable to understand this, then know that it is only you are far from understanding it. But in reality, it doesn't change the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you know, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then the second part is, it's like, if you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you, then why are you making it such a insignificant thing? Why are you making it so small? Because you still disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You still, you don't follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what? You know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is protecting you, yet you're disobeying the one who's protecting you. The one who's actually granting security, you're disobeying them. So when if somebody's granting you protection and then you start doing the opposite, what you can only imagine what happens. Imam al-Ghazali says about this name, just when you're reflecting on it or cultivating about it, he says, every servant who watches over his heart until he supervises its depth and its secrets, and also takes possession of reforming his inner state and attributes, and undertakes to protect it continuously according to the requirements of reform, will be the guardian in relation to his heart. So you will only truly master your heart is, if you go to the depths of it, if you go to the level of understanding it, and what I mean is going in and finding those things that causes problems, that is keeping you over in protection, those bad thoughts, because these bad thoughts that we have and stuff, they are the one that cause a layer between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the one that causes that issue, that distance from understanding the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, because you have all these our own whims and all our own claim to possession and so know that we need to distance ourselves from this. So just again, it's pretty similar to what we said. It says you should cultivate this name in your character by standing as a guardian over yourself, by taking it to account and watching over it vigilantly in all of its states, knowing that nothing is hidden to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by taking all of your needs to Him and being sufficed by His observance of you, knowing that He is a watcher and over you and a protector. Similar to what we mentioned, I don't think that needs explaining more. And the only way that you have mastered connecting to this name is that when the vigilance settles firmly in your heart to the point that you almost never have evil thoughts, meaning that you get your heart and hand placed in a way where you start thinking good of people, you start thinking good of your surroundings, you start thinking of the good of everything that's happening to you. That might not necessarily even be working out for you. You start becoming more aware of it. And he said, one of the scholars said that he who fails to take mindfulness and vigilance between him and Allah will never arrive unto a mystical unveiling and witnessing, and with Allah is enabling grace. So meaning that till you are truly mindful and vigilant of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over you, you will truly never receive the gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will never receive any unveiling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You won't witness anything truly if these things are not protected. These things are not basically take over. Okay guys, I think that's pretty much it for this name as well. We have run out of time, 11:30 now. I did have one more name prepared, but I think inshallah we'll go through this one next week. So guys, I just wanted to ask, is the way we're doing it okay? Like, is it too lengthy, or should we try to speed things up in the sense that we'll go through a lot more names? Or do you like the idea of going through the names and then going through a topic? Just let me know in the comment, inshallah. And then we shall, decide accordingly for next week. I'm just waiting for your guys' comments. I think it's a little bit delayed, so it's just waiting for that. Okay, I don't think anybody's typing. So inshallah, we will move on from here, and we shall see you guys inshallah next week. Nope, nothing. Everybody's pretty much okay with however it's going then, I guess. Okay, that's fine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Thank you for joining us. Okay, sorry. I asked if the way we are doing it, if the way we are doing it is okay, as in going through 2-3 names and then going through a topic, or should we just start focusing on the names entirely, and let's get through the names a lot quicker, because I think 99 names is going to take a long time. If we go this way, it's going to take us over a year, if we go this way, and I think that is not something everybody can commit to. So inshallah we will try to go through things a little bit quicker. Oh man. It's weird looking at yourself back when it's playing back, and it just makes you look weird when you're scratching out things. Okay, inshallah we'll take that feedback on, and we should focus on that. Inshallah from next week we'll try to focus on the names. I think topics can often take a lot of time, and yeah, so thank you guys for joining us, inshallah, and we shall see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.